Given the existing interest of growth of military presence on Guam and indigenous people's plight, would you consider that Guam, indigenous and non-indigenous people are primed to make an effective self-determination move? Who should take the lead?
Well, to answer the first question is certainly yes. This is the time, and this is a time that's uniquely situated for progress. Who should take the lead? I would think that the Chamorro people would want to have their own self-determination effort that is linked to the broader self-determination effort, but has its own unique aspects as well. So I think we need leadership throughout the community on this matter.
Where is this other self-determination emanating from, other than the indigenous peoples, native peoples of Guam? You can't say there's two. I don't know where that came from.
Okay, the non-Chamorro people are living in Guam are not self-governing. So they have the right to be self-governing. Guam is a colony. It's listed on the non-self-governing list by the United Nations.
But they are not the self in self-determination.
Yeah, that's the question. Are they the self in self-determination?
They are non-self-governing, so they have a right to be self-governing.
But sir, they arrive here on their own volition without the invitation of the non-self-governing people, and obviously qualitatively self-determination as a right, as a vote, is different, a different kind of a vote than your regular voting for elected officials. So it's unique in that sense. It's an inalienable right of a people that have historically been denied the right.
Okay, well, I'm glad you both came forward, because this is the crux of it, isn't it? This is the crux of it. And
I would say that there is that second group, and that second group can be granted a right to self-determination only upon the granting of that right now by these people, the native peoples, the Chamorro peoples, who have exercised self-determination, formed a government and said, are you going to be part of us? And if you are, we'll grant you the right to participate.
okay, we have similar problems in many other parts of the world. So just to give a few in specific, New Caledonia, right? You have Melanesian people who are somewhere between 40 and 45% of New Caledonia. So they're roughly like the Chamorros here. Fiji, you have the native Fijians, and you have the people from India that were brought in to work in the plantations. Hawaii, similar. The native Hawaiians are about 20%, and 80% of the population is Filipino, Chinese, Japanese, Caucasian, and so on. So this is not an uncommon problem. And how you deal with it requires a commitment to fundamental ideas of human rights. In other words, everybody has rights, Chamorro and non-Chamorro. People got here for various reasons, but you can't make them into non-people. They have human rights as well. And they have rights to participate in the self-determination process. Now, they, I think, would honor the Chamorros, and they would recognize that the Chamorros have a particular right to lands and resources in this community. I think everybody recognizes that. But that doesn't mean that the other people have no rights whatsoever. So you have to find an enlightened way to work together and to work toward self-governance and to recognize the native rights of the Chamorro people.
It doesn't make any sense. Many of the peoples, with respect, come from countries who have exercised that right of self-determination already. So you're giving them another chance to renegotiate their status with the United States because they reside here? That doesn't make any sense.
Do you want them all to leave?
No, that's not my question to you.
You tell me what you think should happen.
You're suggesting that concurrently two exercises should occur. One for non-Chamorros and the other one for Chamorros. What we're saying is that...
I'm not saying that. The right of the Chamorros, and then there's the right of everybody, including the Chamorros.
But it came under the U.S. flag. It's the U.S. that allows them to be here. So they can take them to the U.S.
So you want them to leave?
Yes, why not?
Okay, well, I suppose that's an option.
You're brainwashing us.
They don't respect our inherent right to exercise our right to self-determination.
Julia, am I brainwashing?
Yes, sure.
Truthfully, I believe international law remains more open on the question than pursued, but there is sort of canons and maxims of construction that would suggest that the right actually belongs to native inhabitants in particular. I mean, in as much as the two principal documents that point to the right to self-determination in the non-self-governing context uses the resolution 1514 uses the term the right to self-determination belongs to people, quote, under alien domination, exploitation, and subjugation. So the word alien would be the operative word, and in resolution 1514, at 1541, I would suggest that there's another context clue that says that the right to self-determination for peoples of non-self-governing territories belongs to those, quote, ethnically and geographically separated from the colonizer. So if you do like a classic, I guess, in pari materia analysis, you read them together to try to come up with a harmonized whole. There is definitely an argument to be made, I'd say, that is the native inhabitants in particular of the non-self-governing territory that is entitled to the vote in a self-determination plebiscite. And then under that perspective, the second correlative vote might actually be duplicative and not legally sanctioned. So I mean, I guess for Guam's situation, I understand where this is coming from, because when we study it, we also look at the other side. What the U.S. has done that can count as legal evidence or admissions toward a certain end. For example, Article 73E of the UN Charter mandates that the administrative power is supposed to report to the UN Secretary General. There's at least 3 reports in the early 1960s in which the U.S. so unequivocally and clearly understands, at least is legally admitting, that the Chamorro who is entitled to self-determination is the non-military, the non-Filipino, the Chamorro in that way. So there's also documents. So from a really robust perspective, there's definitely an argument to be made that it belongs to native inhabitants of the non-self-governing territory. And I think it's problematic too, because we can get into arguments of external and internal self-determination, which is not something, I don't know if we necessarily want to go there, but do you see it's just a rich, complicated area? But I think a principled construction, the most principled construction of all of the international legal documents can only militate toward a single conclusion. And that is, at the very least, that new people, like new U.S. expatriates, say, who come and are here for 30 days, for example, cannot vote because to allow them, for example, to vote in a self-determination referendum would actually render the actual plain language of the document an absurdity, because these people are not, quote, under alien domination.
So you would let Joshua vote, but not me. I've only been here for 4 days.
Well, yeah, absolutely. For me, I mean, that's how
we let Joshua vote?
No, I would.
Furthermore, sir, when the United States placed Guam on that list of non-self-governing territories, it chose not to place Wake, because Wake did not have an indigenous people. Therefore, the South is talking about a people rather than the island of Guam. So Guam as an island does not have self-determination rights. Only the people of Guam who have not exercised those rights that were promised to them in the Treaty of Paris, in the Treaty of Nations, and U.S. becoming a signatory.
And even the DIS?
I think the discussion's got great value, but I have a question. I want to know, do you see a practical way forward? And I'm saying practical knowing we've got a federal district court with injunctive power sitting there that deals with U.S. court precedent here on this island. Is there a practical way forward to do a Chamorro-only vote on the status of Guam? And if there is, how does that happen? If there isn't, maybe you could explain why there probably wouldn't be. Is there a precedent that prevents us from having a Chamorro-only vote?
I think once and for all, the Chamorro people must be trusted to make the best decision for their homeland.
I'm saying if somebody wanted to challenge the Chamorro-only vote,
Chamorro only vote has been popularized by the media in order to divide this community.
It is a pejorative statement every time somebody says Chamorro only vote.
I understand.
Come on, guys.
One of the
Okay, this is a good discussion.